You feel like it's all authentic. Calls like these sound authentic as well, but soon enough, you will be debited by a huge amount of money. This, friends, is the latest scam that is doing the rounds, making you pay for smaller amounts, for bill payments, for parcel collection, just address change sometimes, but leading to a major scam. Anvit Srivastava, our principal correspondent and also tracking crime here at CNN News 18, dug up a lot of data on how often these cases happen and what are the innovative ways in which these scams are out on the run. Take a look.
Have you recently received any OTP or your loved one has received a phone call from law enforcement or from banking officials or people impersonating as these officials? It is much likely that you have been a victim of a cyber fraud. The cases of cyber fraud from 2022 to 2023 increased by 60.9%. And these cases were mostly of the OTP receiving or from pesky calls that sweep away all your money from your bank accounts by infiltrating into your personal information. What the government guidelines and the law enforcement say that these OTPs, once provided to these dubious calls and people impersonating as law enforcement officials, provide them an entry into your personal information and into your bank accounts, making it easy for them to sweep away all your hard-earned money. Also, these are not uneducated or people who are not tech savvy who are mostly the victim of cyber fraud. In ample cases, there have been examples where lawyers, educated people like professors, bureaucrats, politicians, even police officials and journalists have often been victims of cyber frauds. But what to do when such a cyber fraudster approaches you or you receive any such pesky calls or a message providing you asking you to provide OTP for any further transactions in your bank details? There are certain measures that you can opt for that will prevent you from becoming a target to these scamsters. One, keep a regular check to your online transaction and to your bank statement just to make sure that there's no fraudsters or fraudulent transaction that reflect into your bank account. Secondly, make sure that there is a two-way authentication method that you use to enter your bank transaction details, and always make sure that there's multiple layers to accessing your bank account. These can be biometric, this can be, you can set a PIN, or you can also use other factors or methods that are available in banking apps or online websites. Other than that, make sure that whenever you opt for any such banking transactions, then you have to always check your bank with your banking manager, with your personal banking manager, and never share an OTP. Whenever you receive a message to share any such OTP, always contact your bank official. Other than these, when you have already fallen as a victim of such a crime, there are certain measures that you need to immediately take to make sure that your money, if it has gone, that can also return. In many cases, we have seen that money has also came back, or the transaction was stopped in midway by the law enforcement. People have gotten their money back. So in those cases, first of all, you need to report the crime immediately on 1930, which is the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. 1930 is an MHA helpline number, Ministry of Home Affairs, and you immediately have to report crime on 1930. Other than that, if you're not able to report that, immediately contact your local police station. Local police will help you register a case, and then that case is transferred to cyber portals or cyber helplines or the cyber police stations in your district. Other than that, also immediately, if any transaction, in fraudulent transaction has taken place, immediately respond and inform your bank officials. In many cases where the amount is less, or there are certain level of amounts with different banks, and if the amount is below that, the banks are liable to return that money. But also there are certain factors in it, whether or not you were at fault or you provided the OTP, or was it a transaction that was done from the other side. In those cases, banks also help you voluntarily and with the police to get your money back. So these are certain things that you can do to, first of all, to prevent the fraud from happening, or once you are the victim, to make sure that your money is safe and to increase the chances of getting back that money that you have already lost. There have been multiple such cases recently. Always remember that there are provisions in the law to prevent you from such cases from happening, from such incidents from happening. IT Act of the year 2000, criminalizes any such offence and any such act of fraudulent transaction, and provides with certain provisions that help you take legal action. Other than that, in many such cases of cybercrime, IPC sections are there. Depending upon different crimes, if it is a theft, then 379 can be slapped against the fraudsters.
Right. So having understood that, the larger context over here, what you need to do, please take note of it. All of us need to empower ourselves with that information. But how some of these very innovative frauds take place is quite peculiar. Let's speak to a person who faces firsthand. Renu Adhikari is a former teacher at Ramjas School. One phone call, one OTP led her to lose 96,000 straight. This is how it went for her.
You want me to remember that harrowing experience which I had almost 2 years ago. What had happened was that I got a message on my mobile, and the message was that your electricity connection will be disconnected tomorrow in case you don't make the payment. I remotely remembered that I had made the payment, but still, there is always an anxiety. Okay, my connection will be disconnected tomorrow. So I started looking into my messages, etc., and my bill payment, and immediately I got a call. And that call said, ma'am, I'm speaking from BACS, and will you please make a payment of 10 rupees? So I was wondering that how come 10 rupees will make a difference, because the amount is generally, in thousands. He said, I'll help you in doing it. So I said, fine. So I said, I'll make the payment by debit card. So he said, no, ma'am, you can't make the payment by debit card. So I thought it's fine, like it's just a matter of 10 rupees. So he said, you make it by credit card. So I made it by credit card. So then he said, ma'am, okay, now you send me the OTP, etc. I sent the OTP. And all of a sudden, I found, that from my account, 96,000 rupees, credit card, against the credit card, it has been taken out. I didn't know, I was aghast. I immediately rushed to the bank, to which, this credit card was associated with. And there was also no help I was given, And then I went to the police station. Police station people also said that we can file your complaint, but we'll not be able to do anything. And I was more concerned about what am I going to do? My 96,000 rupees have gone, and I'm not responsible in any way. What mistake did I make? And then I remembered, that I had a student, and I thought, let me just get across to him. And he's the head of the cyber crimes, they deal with the cyber crimes. And then he helped me out, and eventually with his effort, I was able to come out of it. So it was a very harrowing experience.
So that was Renu, and many of you watching right now might relate to what she's saying. Typical to the nature of these frauds, we often don't know how to report them. Banks leave you on long hold. It's not always easy to deal with cops either. And people don't know where to go. That's the place where cyber experts actually come in. And let's bring one on the program on that note. Mahir Gupta, cyber lawyer and the founder of CodeSnack, is joining us now. He's actually the one who helped Renu in this case as well. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining us, Mahir.
Good morning. Good morning.
So
really sorry,
have been
having some issues about the lightning because the power cut is there. So really sorry about that.
No worries, no worries. We are live now, so we can take this conversation forward. So what we understand, Mahir, is that you're responsible for training lots of state cyber cells, ATS, CBI, other agencies as well. This has been done because the government also needs to update itself. But not everybody is going to have access to you. Not everybody will have friends like you. So in cases like these, when the person first feels that they've been defrauded, what should be the first port of call? We understand there is a number, but again, it is not widely spread and people might not know.
So I'll just like to push here, the government of India right now has built an nationwide facility visit, which is called I4C, that is Indian Cybercrime Coordination Center. And the number we are talking about, 1930, directly belongs to them. And as cybercrime has a total different jurisdiction altogether, so I would always promote, and what I did in Renu ma'am's case was also like I filed the complaint to cybercrime.gov.in and also asked her to file a complaint on 1930. Okay, most of the times these numbers are like basically busy because of the bandwidth, because we are getting a lot of cases daily. Like the numbers are reaching out in lakhs, and we suggest that you just go to the website of Government of India, that is cybercrime.gov.in, and lodge the complaint there. Because once you lodge the complaint there, your transaction ID gets recorded into a system where all these fraudulent accounts starts getting freeze. So basically, whatever money they have duped you of starts to get freeze until and unless you just file the complaint there. So basically, what you need to do is first file the complaint and then go to your bank. So banks will basically then let you know, keep you informed how to basically get this money back. And then you need to get in touch with a good lawyer who will file a court application where if any amount has been freezed for your due money, you can like basically file an application to the court and get that amount basically back to your original account. So that is the best procedure right now available. Other than that, we recommend sometimes like people basically downloaded some application or like they have clicked on certain links. So we recommend that you can reset your phones as well. Okay. And like just don't share the OTPs. So when it comes to like why these people got due, even in Renu ma'am's case, as she was telling us about, and I have been dealing with thousands of victims. Like we get a lot of complaints on a daily basis, and trust me, the bandwidth right now for the cybercrime wings and also for the lawyers is very less in this particular domain. So we always suggest that don't ever go for a quick money making scheme. That is a really hoax. That is like if someone is putting some urgency over call, if they're saying they're from the even the law enforcement agencies, like people have started calling, posing as a police officer, and then like digitally arresting people and even asking for money. So basically, if someone is asking money and that too with urgency or asking for OTP or any personally identifiable information of yours, just don't share it online.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's important. And, you know, we've done shows after shows on this one, and we keep telling people that, listen, the only way forward is to empower yourself with the information and know that if you've not done anything wrong, there's nothing to really worry, and take it and be calm and sort of answer these phone calls this way. But tell us this, you know, our knowledge of OTP scams has considerably increased, right? There are movies on them. We're actively talking about it. So many shows, WhatsApp forwards now are around it. But even if you look at the number of cases, they've only gone up. So where are we getting this wrong?
So majorly this is all a mind game. Okay, so even in the Indian Penal Code, there is a section which is very common with people. You might have heard about 420. So if you'll go and read the section 420 sub clause B, there is a word called inducement. Okay, so someone is trying to induce you regularly. Okay, trying to play with your brain so that you give them the desired information or the output they are seeking right now. So these criminals are kind of trapping you into your own either I would say a psychological effect of urgency or FOMO, or fear of missing out some great deal or something. And I am seeing a lot of cases where like these retired government officers are like trying to invest their money into trading platforms, and they are getting duped of a lot of money. Like the amount is majorly a high ticket amount of $100,000 or more. Okay, so that is a huge amount for an individual. Like even the whole households are getting trashed, and every case has a common thing where these people have been duped or induced to entering certain information, and there are voluntary transactions also. So that is where the victims get a lot of like I would say failure ratio, because they have voluntarily transferred money through either NEFT, IMPS, or even like I have seen people filling up the form of NEFT and IMPS, going to the bank branches and then directly like putting up the information there. And bank straightforward says there is a guideline of RBI June 6, 2016, where they have mentioned like if the customer is basically have voluntarily shared the OTP or entered the OTP, then the bank is not liable at all. That is why I am telling you, if you just file the complaint on cybercrime.gov.in, then your money gets at least freeze. So then we can fight a case in the court, and then can basically let them know this is inducement or whatever. So that's why banks are not helping. Banks are
So
saying like,
Mahir, you're saying, yeah, Mahir, help me understand this. Are you saying that as, you train government offices and police officers and training agencies, even they have a lot to learn. We're also just sort of catching up to these scams. We are never ahead of them, right? We only react. We are never able to sort of preempt them. And the only way of preemption over here is to empower yourself with that knowledge. But at this point, you think there is something lacking within the system as well to stop these from happening, specifically at the bank portal? Because that's the first call you will make. If I've lost my money or money has been debited, the first call you will make is to your bank to say that, listen, this transaction is fraudulent.
Yeah. So basically, see, coming back to the point, government is already putting a lot of effort to basically build the capacity, and seeing the population of India and the kind of transactions we are seeing, because we are one of the very first countries who have introduced such a swift transaction mode, like UPI, like the methodology we are right now using. You just basically just enter an amount, enter a PIN, and the transaction is validated. So that is to facilitate the technology and take the transactions ahead. But right now, banks are not literally helping in this. Banks are totally I would say, dusting off their hands if you are just going to them as a victim. But again, the government has built a system. I can assure you guys, government has built a great system where they have directly collaborated with multiple central agencies, where this transaction ID, if you are putting it in the right transaction ID of the transaction, which is a fraudulent transaction, the system automatically starts freezing the amount. And I have seen it in cases like Renu ma'am is a very good example, where she has lost 96,000 rupees. And instantly, when I reported it to cybercrime.gov.in, I filed the proper complaint. So the problem here is the complaint form is also very long, okay? And sometimes people are not filling in the right information at first. So that's where the system gets failed, okay? If you're filling in the right system, I can assure you that even most of the amount gets freezed, and then we can file an application to the court and then get our money back into the account, because banks directly are not helping anyone, that I could say.
So banks might still be catching their breath on this one, but clearly 1930, that's the number that we need to remember and ensure that that's what you call and block in. If that number is busy, as it often is, as he's also constantly saying, then you have to log into the website and get your complaint launched there. That's the only way forward to empower yourself and to know how to deal with them, and most importantly, try to avoid them as much as possible. Thank you so much for joining us with that. All right, so that was Mahir telling us how to actually fight these out and what are the few things that you must keep in mind. Let's slip to a quick break. We'll be back with more.
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's lost more jobs than he had when he began, since Herbert Hoover. The idea that he did something that was significant. And the military, when he was president, they were still killing people in Afghanistan. He didn't do anything about that. When he was president, we were still finding ourselves in a position where you had a notion that we were this safe country. The truth is, I'm the only president this century that doesn't have this decade, that doesn't have any troops dying anywhere in the world like he did.
President Trump, I want to follow up if I can.
Am I allowed to respond to him?
Well, I'm going to ask you a follow-up. You can do whatever you want with the minute that we give you. I want to follow up. You want to impose a 10% tariff on all goods coming into the U.S. How will you ensure that that doesn't drive prices even higher?
It's not going to drive them higher. It's just going to cause countries that have been ripping us off for years, like China and many others, in all fairness to China, it's going to just force them to pay us a lot of money, reduce our deficit tremendously, and give us a lot of power for other things. But he made a statement. The only thing he was right about is I gave you the largest tax cut in history. I also gave you the largest regulation.
Welcome back. It's time to take you through stories from India and across the globe. Let's start with what's happening in the national capital, where it finally rained, but it rained how much? Heavy rains have now, in different parts of Delhi NCR, created serious waterlogging problems in the national capital. The IMD has issued an orange alert now for all areas in Delhi. NASA has chosen SpaceX to create a groundbreaking vehicle tasked with safety reorbiting of the International Space Station. The contract now is worth $1 billion, involves developing a system to guide the ISS to its final descent from orbit, ensuring a controlled re-entry. San Diego Zoo has welcomed its first giant panda pair in 21 years, marking a significant diplomatic gesture from China. The pandas departed from China Conservation and Research Center are now en route to California. This rare loan was agreed upon after Chinese leader Xi Jinping proposed sending pandas as envoys of friendship to the United States. The pandas were given a grand farewell, complete with performances and gift exchanges before they went. Denmark has introduced the world's first carbon emission tax on agriculture, set to cost dairy farmers nearly $100 per cow annually starting in 2030. This unprecedented move aims to curb the country's largest source of emissions and help Denmark achieve its climate goals. The new tax, part of the broader $3.7 billion investment in environmental measures, has stirred mixed reaction amongst the agricultural community. A recent study published in the Lancet Global Health Journal reveals that almost 50% of adults in India are engaged in insufficient levels of physical activity. More women in India, about 57%, were found to be insufficiently physically active, compared to men, 42%, in line with trends across South Asian region. So that's an interesting one, but we'll have to see how that pans out, and maybe we'll dwell a little more on that in the coming week as well. But let's move on now and bring you more news coming in from the world of entertainment. Now, a lot of times talking, since we were on the issue of health as well, we have spoken about weight loss measures or getting fit measures, and you must have heard of intermittent fasting. The trend of having OMAD, or just one meal a day, that's what the full form for this is one of the types of intermittent fasting. Now, believing it or not, the hard actor Gulshan has been following this OMAD diet since 2018. So our colleague Sakshi sat down to understand how does it actually work.
Tell us about your lifestyle choice of having just one meal a day. How do you do it? And since when have you started this exactly?
Mostly I eat once a day. When I say mostly, you have to pay attention to mostly also, because it's not every day. But I try and be as consistent with it as possible. So I would say sort of 300 out of 365 days I would eat one meal a day. I started it in 2018 because many things. I was finding it very difficult, and generally this is something where people also find very difficult to be consistent with eating habits. Because most of us eat more than what is really necessary for us, and then that ends up in some weight gain and some other health problems also if you eat very calorific foods. So I was struggling with it myself, and then I was fluctuating, and I was finding it very difficult to sort of maintain a certain ideal weight and look for it. That is a challenge. You have to eat a variety of different types of foods. And the one common mistake that I did initially was also, particularly when I'm working during the day, I eat my meal after I'm done. So that's pretty like almost like half an hour before going to bed. That sometimes would cause me a little bit of acidity in the morning. So I had to also cut out certain types of food. Also, like, you need variety in your diet to sort of give you all the necessary nutrition. And because you're eating once a day, then I have to have a meal that has a lot of variety, and I have to keep switching between foods, include different vegetables and all of those things like and fruits, and keep changing them seasonally, which I was not very good at doing. So I would have some deficiencies, vitamin deficiencies, for which I would take some vitamin supplements. It can definitely help with weight loss, and then I found that out. I wasn't trying to lose weight. I was trying to find something that would help me maintain a certain thing. I was already a certain weight. Usually I'm between 72 to 73 kilos. Sometimes it goes up to like 74, 75, which is still not really overweight for my height. But I'd like to keep it around between 70 and 73. So I was finding it difficult to be consistent with that. Initially, I started dropping a lot of weight by giving into my cravings every once in a while, which is why I said I mostly eat once a day. It's not. I try not to be absolute about the discipline. If I'm able to average around 85%, then I'm really happy with that. And I don't try to. If I do better than that, that's fine. But then I try to aim for, as I said, about 300 days. Technically, I would like to clarify what I'm doing is not OMAD, because I take my coffees and teas, which is about 2 cups a day, with milk and sugar. So that's calories. That's calories. So apart from that, my meal is, I don't eat any snacks or anything like that mostly. Not really. Because I never used to socialize much anyways, so it hasn't. But in terms of, I have lost interest, alcohol consumption is something that I think people will have a problem. But like I said, you have to allow yourself some leeway, and you have to find something. The idea is to find something that you can do consistently. I don't eat breakfast. I haven't had breakfast in a long time. Sometimes I do, for example, if I'm traveling or if I'm not well, if I have to take medicines or something like that, then most of the medications you have to consume after a meal. So then I'll have something small. Depending on what I'm ill with, it's usually like something light in the morning. Or sometimes when I'm on a holiday or something like that, you go to a breakfast buffet and you don't want to miss out. So I allow myself such pleasures.
All right then. So OMAD, quite the diet there. Tell us if you've tried it out. We would love to hear your version of the story as well. But let's shift our focus to more Bollywood news coming in. Nag Ashwin, beg your pardon, much awaited movie. Star Kalki 2898 AD or 2898 AD is finally there. I'm really getting the numbers and the name wrong over here. But this is the movie which has stars like Prabhas, Deepika Padukone, Amitabh Bachchan, Kamal Hassan in the lead, and the movie is now in the theatre. It draws from Mahabharata and the Kalki Puran as well, and is set in Kashi. Now, Prabhas has impressed as a modern-day Karan, but there is also Amitabh Bachchan. Sakshi saw the movie. This is what she thought of it.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of TGIF. You know our natural drill, right? We sort of give you the list of what you can exactly watch and the events that you can attend with your family. But this time around, this is a very special episode of TGIF. We will be bringing you all the details and developments about the movie that has created a lot of buzz on the social media platforms. People are pretty excited because this movie is a massive one with a great ensemble of star cast, some very big faces, And of course, the heavy budget rupees 600 crores. But whether the movie is worth watching or not is the question that we'll be answering in a short while from now. Hop on with us as we take you through the journey of Kalki 2898 AD. Alright, so we have already watched Kalki 2898 AD. It's a unique blend of Hindu mythology and science fiction. Draws attention from the Mahabharata and Kalki Purana. Set in Kashi, the last city with resources, it follows a modern avatar of Lord Vishnu who descends to protect humanity from evil. That's it. That's the whole plot of the story. This story, in fact, begins with resource-rich Kashi, which is being ruled by Shashwata Chatterjee's character. He's the villain who demands total loyalty. A prophecy reveals a child will overthrow him, and Sumati, the character being played by Deepika Padukone, carries this particular child. The king now puts a bounty on her head, and Bhairava, the character played by Prabhas, a top hunter who believes it's his destiny to capture Deepika Padukone. Ashwathama, played by Amitabh Bachchan, aims to protect Deepika Padukone's character, Sumati. Now, Amitabh Bachchan, playing the character of Ashwathama, is a highlight, showcasing his legendary talent even at the age of 81. His fight scenes with Prabhas are particularly captivating. The film, in fact, begins with a younger version of Amitabh Bachchan as Ashwathama, evoking nostalgia about Mahabharata. Though his screen time is very limited in the first half, it relatively increases in the second half, where he delivers intense dialogues with precision. Now, Prabhas as Bhairava impresses with his cool demeanor and humorous touches, while his first half action sequences lack severe energy. His fierce avatar and development in the second half, especially the fight scene with Big B, stands out the most. Deepika Padukone shines as Sumati, carrying Lord Vishnu's avatar in her belly. Expecting her first child in real life, in fact, she flaunts her baby bump with a lot of grace, portraying a range of emotions perfectly. Now, Kamal Haasan is also playing the role of a villain. Though brief, it promises significant development in the sequel. Special appearances by big actors like Dulquer Salmaan, S.S. Rajamouli, Ram Gopal Verma, Mrunal Thakur and Vijay Deverakonda add delightful cameos within the movie, with Deverakonda, of course, impressing as Mahabharat Arjun. The film's desert-like visual theme may remind viewers a little bit of Dune or Mad Max, but the story is very distinct. Director Nagashwin skillfully merges mythology with modern elements, balancing both without letting other overpower the another.
All right, on that note, we're going to slip into a break. On the other side, if you haven't noticed, we're bleeding through. We'll bring you all the World Cup updates.
Why we had all the jobs, and the jobs went down and then they bounced back, and he's taking credit for bounce back jobs. You can't do that. He also said he inherited 9% inflation. No.
Thanks so much for being here. Let's begin the debate, and let's start with the issue that voters consistently say is their top concern: the economy. President Biden, inflation has slowed, but prices remain high. Since you took office, the price of essentials has increased. For example, a basket of groceries that cost $100 then now costs more than $120. And typical home prices have jumped more than 30%. What do you say to voters who feel they are worse off under your presidency than they were under President Trump?
We got to take a look at what I was left when I became president, what Mr. Trump left me. We had an economy that was in free fall. The pandemic was so badly handled. Many people were dying. All he said was, it's not that serious. Just inject a little bleach into your arm. You'll be all right. The economy collapsed. There were no jobs. Unemployment rate rose to 15%. It was terrible. And so what we had to do is try to put things back together again. And that's exactly what we began to do. We created 15,000 new jobs. We brought out the position where we have 800,000 new manufacturing jobs. But there's more to be done. There's more to be done. Working class people are still in trouble. I come from Scranton, Pennsylvania. I come of a household where the kitchen table, if the things weren't able to be met during the month, it was a problem. Price of eggs, the price of gas, the price of housing, the price of a whole range of things. That's why I'm working so hard to make sure I deal with those problems. And we're going to make sure that we reduce the price of housing. We're going to make sure we build 2 million new units. We're going to make sure we cap rents so corporate greed can't take over. The combination, what I was left with in corporate greed, is the reason why we're in this problem right now. In addition to that, we're in a situation where if you take a look at all that was done in his administration, he didn't do much at all. By the time he left, things were in chaos, literally chaos. And so we put things...
All right then, like we said, we're bleeding blue this morning because England are out of the T20 World Cup. India defeated England in the second semi-final of the World T20 Cup 2024 and will now meet South Africa in the title clash. Now, in the history of the ICC T20 World Cup, no team has ever managed to stay unbeaten in the entire competition, and that's why India and South Africa's match is going to be so keenly watched. Now, the Proteas will be coming into this final on the back of thumping win over Afghanistan in their first semi-final as well. Soumya Kapoor with all the details of the semi-final between India and England, and also talks about what's going to happen for that big final.
India buried the bitter memories of the T20 World Cup 2022 semi-final defeat for good, as they gave England a mighty thrashing in the last 4 clash of the T20 World Cup 2024 on Thursday to march in the final of the tournament where South Africa await them. India were a class apart on a pitch that aided spinners as they first posted an above par total of 171 for 7 in 20 overs before bowling out England for 103 in 16.4 overs to register a big 68-run win. Skipper Rohit Sharma showed how to bat on a pitch with low bounce as India did well to reach 171 for 7 in the rain-hit second semi-final of the T20 World Cup against England on Thursday. Virat Kohli perished early again, trying to force the pace, but Rohit Sharma, who scored 57 of 39 balls, found an able ally in Suryakumar Yadav, who scored 47 of 36 as the two powered India to a challenging total. The keenly awaited fixture was impacted by rain, with the start of the play being delayed by 1 hour and 15 minutes. Another halt came when India were 65 for 2 in 8 overs. Rohit adapted to the conditions much better and decided to play the ball late and behind the stumps. One example of that was the guide over backward point of Archer in the second over when the ball went through Phil Salt's hands to reach the boundary. England used the leg spin of Rashid and Liam Livingstone from both ends after the forced break, but they could not stifle Rohit and Suryakumar Yadav. A full toss from Rashid was duly dispatched over short fine leg for 4, the first of many boundaries that India accumulated in the middle overs. The 13th over from Karan yielded 19 runs for India, with Suryakumar Yadav smashing a couple of sixes and Rohit played a pickup shot for a maximum that also brought up his second successive 50. The entertaining 73-run ended when Rohit Sharma was beaten by a googly from Adil Rashid while attempting for a slog. Following Karan's bumper 13th over, the next 4 overs were quiet for India before Hardik Pandya, who got 23 of 13, hit 2 flat sixes on either side of the pitch to push the innings forward. Ravindra Jadeja scored 17 not out of 9. He was sent ahead of Shivam Dube. He got 2 crucial boundaries of Archer in the penultimate over, while Shivam Dube's stay lasted only 1 ball. Akshar Patel's 6 of Jordan in the final over took India past 170. The team scored 53 runs in the last 5 overs. Talking about India's bowling, Jasprit Bumrah, Akshar Patel and Kuldeep Yadav thoroughly dominated the English batting unit. While Akshar and Kuldeep stabbed 3 wickets apiece, Jasprit Bumrah, our star bowler, got 2. Well, they will be meeting South Africa in the finale on Saturday in Barbados. South Africa are coming into this final on the back of a stunning and comfortable win against Afghanistan in the semi-finals. The Proteas have a pretty good winning streak in this particular tournament, but their wins haven't been that convincing and have the games gone very close. While South Africa are in the first final, India will be playing a T20 World Cup final after 2014. The men in blue will look to end the trophy drought with a win in this one.
All right, next we bring you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's begin with the markets and how they are likely to do this morning. Now, GIFT Nifty trends indicate a positive start for Indian equity indices, and India leads the aggregate market cap gains in the top 10 global markets in the June quarter as well. The US indices gain as fresh economic data indicates momentum loss and boost hopes for the US Fed rate cut as well. And the Asian markets gain as well on the US Fed rate cut hopes, and oil prices stay steady. Let's look at sectors in focus this morning. The India cement sector has a bright long-term demand outlook. The big players are trying to consolidate their position, and many companies with medium or small capacities may be potential acquisition targets as well. Now, the growing mergers and acquisitions activity in the space corroborates that trend. And if you are looking for more, you can log into Money Control Pro to find out more about the cement manufacturing industry and other actionable insights. It is the premium destination for all the investing views and financial insights you will ever need to know, brought to you by Money Control. With that, it's a wrap on today's show and this week. We'll see you again on Monday. And remember, before that, if you have any suggestions on what topics we must pick up, you must write to us with your feedback. And until then, bleed blue, India.
I said those jobs, we make sure we had a situation where we brought down the price of prescription drugs, which is a major issue for many people, to $15 for a insulin shot as opposed to $400. No senior has to pay more than $200 for any drug, all the drugs they can include beginning next year. And the situation is and we're going to make that available to everybody, to all Americans. So we're working to bring down the price around the kitchen table, and that's what we're going to get done.
Thank you. President Trump?
We have the greatest economy in the history of our country. We have never done so well. Everybody was amazed by it. Other countries were copying us. We got hit with COVID, and when we did, we spent the money necessary so we wouldn't end up in a Great Depression, the likes of which we had in 1929. By the time we finished, so we did a great job. We got a lot of credit for the economy, a lot of credit for the military, and no wars, and so many other things. Everything was rocking good. But the thing we never got the credit for, and we should have, is getting us out of that COVID mess. He created mandates that was a disaster for our country. But other than that, we had given them back a country where the stock market actually was higher than pre-COVID, and nobody thought that was even possible. The only jobs he created are for illegal immigrants and bounce-back jobs, a bounce back from the COVID. He has not done a good job. He's done a poor job, and inflation's killing our country. It is absolutely killing us.
Thank you. President Biden?
Well, look, the greatest economy in the world, he's the only one who thinks that, I think. I don't know anybody else who thinks he had the greatest economy in the world. And, you know, the fact of the matter is that we find ourselves in a situation where his economy, he rewarded the wealthy. He had the largest tax cut in American history, $2 trillion. He raised a deficit larger than any president has in any one term. He's the only president other than Herbert Hoover who's had lost.
Good morning, viewers. Hello and welcome to the Morning News Show, where we bring you the latest headlines and insightful stories to kickstart your day. I'm Kuhina Sharma and you are watching CNN News 18. First up, on top of this bulletin, we're tracking some weather updates from the National Capital Region, where a roof has collapsed at Terminal 1 of the Delhi airport. 3 fire tenders were rushed to the spot, and as per Delhi Fire Services, 1 has been declared dead and 6 remain injured. Now, the injured have been shifted to a hospital nearby. These are the latest inputs that we're tracking at this point of time. After a roof collapsed at Terminal 1 of Delhi Airport, 3 fire tenders were rushed to the spot. As per Delhi Fire Services, 1 has been declared dead and 6 remain injured. Now, the injured people have been moved to the hospital nearby. Several parked cars have been hit. And as you can see, the visuals on your TV screens, a lot of damage on the infrastructure front has been faced. Now, let's take a look at some of the reactions that we've been getting on this report.
अभी यहाँ पे पता चला कि वो ऊपर का जो है वो कुछ कोलैप्स हुआ है, उसके वजह से मैक्सिमम फ़्लाइट उन्होंने कैंसिल करा है और कुछ फ़्लाइट होल्ड पे करा हुआ है, लेकिन वो बता नहीं पा रहे कि ये सिचुएशन कब तक क्लियर होंगी।
यहाँ पे एग्जैक्टली ये हुआ कि रूफ़ कोलैप्स हो गई है और 5-5:15 बजे के आसपास रूफ़ कोलैप्स हो गई है और कुछ लोगों के साथ में कुछ लोगों का एक्सीडेंट भी हो गया। आई थिंक दे आर सेइंग कि एक आधा बंदे की डेथ भी हो गई है, तो विच इज़ प्रिटी सीरियस। और यही सब चल रहा है यहाँ पे, समझ नहीं आ रहा है, एयरपोर्ट अथॉरिटी में कुछ जवाब है नहीं।
Well, these are the latest inputs that we've been tracking from the ground, where a lot of damage, infrastructural damage has also been incurred, especially after 1 life has been lost and 6 people have so far been recorded as injured. Now, these injured people have been taken to the hospital nearby. 3 fire tenders were